Good morning. And welcome to the Sunday morning worship service at DuPage Unitarian Universalist Church in Naperville, Illinois on June 19th, 2022. We are so glad to have you here. I'm Kat Gelder, chair of the Sunday services team, and my pronouns are she, her. We are so glad that you are here, whether you are present in the sanctuary this morning or watching remotely. It is so good to be together. To keep all of us as safe as possible, we will remain masked, except those of us on the chancel who will remove our masks to speak from the microphone. As Unitarian Universalists, we hold that there are many paths to truth and meaning, and we support one another on our spiritual and religious journeys. Whether you are a member or friend of this congregation, or have recently discovered us, we are glad that you are with us this morning. Whoever you are and wherever you are welcome here. We have one additional announcement this morning. Please note that next Sunday's service times are unusual. A forum will be held at 11 a.m., and then the General Assembly service put on by the Unitarian Universalist National Association will be streamed in the sanctuary starting at 11:30 a.m. So you're feel free to come in person, and you can also watch that service online. There will be instructions.
In a world filled with the darkness of ignorance, let us bring the light of reason. In a world filled with the darkness of despair, may we share the light of hope. In a world filled with the darkness of hate, let us shine the light of love. Good morning, everyone. My name is Laura Huber. My pronouns are she, her. When my husband and I first took our oldest daughter home from the hospital, we felt like we were getting away with something. As we walked out the door and fastened her in her car seat, we looked at each other and then asked, "They're just gonna let us take her home? There's no test or anything? Who's in charge here?" And that's when it sank in. We were. There's nothing like becoming a parent to make you realize that you're actually the grown-ups in the room. And at least for me, on most days, that's okay. The kids get fed, they're mostly clean, and we laugh more than we cry. However, there are some days where the world, or perhaps just your world, feels like it's about to end. Like nothing will ever be right again, and like every question is impossible to answer. On days like this, we might secretly, or not so secretly, wish that someone else, anyone else, were in charge. Of course, even or perhaps especially on the hardest days, there's no off-ramp. We still have to muddle through, trying our best to get things right for the young people we're responsible for raising. So what can we take away from parenting or nurturing children in our community through these hard times? Can our UU principles inform how we approach times of crisis? We believe that we are all part of an interdependent web of existence. How we respond to children in times of crisis has reverberations through our community and their lives.
It is time to gather for a story for all ages. And our story this morning is a story about what we do when things go wrong. It's called The Rabbit Listened by Corey Dorfeld, and the dedication is for CC, JB, SAF, and everyone rebuilding. One day, Taylor decided to build something new, something special, something amazing. Taylor was so proud. But then, out of nowhere, things came crashing down. We've all been there, right? The chicken was the first to notice. Cluck, cluck, what a shame. I'm so sorry. Sorry that this happened. Let's talk about it. Cluck, 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 cluck. But Taylor did not feel like talking, so the chicken left. Next came the bear. Grr, rawr, how horrible. I bet you feel so angry. Let's shout about it. Arrgh. But Taylor didn't feel like shouting, so the bear left. The elephant knew just what to do. Tripda, I can fix this. We just need to remember exactly the way things were. But Taylor didn't feel like remembering, so the elephant also left. Tag yourself, I'm the elephant. One by one they came. The hyena, hee, let's laugh about it. The ostrich, let's hide and pretend nothing happened. The kangaroo, what a mess, let's throw it all away. And the snake, shh, let's go knock down someone else's. But Taylor didn't feel like doing anything with anybody. So eventually, they all left. Until Taylor was alone. In the quiet, Taylor didn't even notice the rabbit. But it moved closer and closer until Taylor could feel its warm body. Together they sat in silence until Taylor said, "Please stay with me." And the rabbit listened. The rabbit listened as Taylor talked. The rabbit listened as Taylor shouted. The rabbit listened as Taylor remembered and left. The rabbit listened to Taylor's plans to hide and to throw everything away and to ruin things for someone else. Through it all, the rabbit never left. And when the time was right, the rabbit listened to Taylor's plan to build again. "I can't wait," Taylor said. "It's going to be amazing." And now please rise in body or spirit and join us in our song of affirmation. Number 1012, the youth can exit through the back. Steve will take you guys to Youth RE. So please remain standing in body and spirit and join us in hymn 1012.
Stories
And the World Doesn't Stop by Ellie Hunja. Warm up the chicken nuggets, charge his tablet, pour her milk, schedule the appointments, open his puzzle. White supremacist kills 10 at Buffalo supermarket. Wipe my eyes, wipe down the counter, force a smile through her cute story, say, "Oh, that's great, honey." Pray for the families, pray for my family, change his diaper. Shooter kills 14 students and teacher at Texas elementary school. Retreat to the bathroom, murmur, "Just give mommy a minute." Wipe his tears, try to swallow mine, answer the email, open his Play-Doh, kiss their foreheads, hug them tighter, pray for the strength to fight.
In 2018, my daughter, having recently turned 2, was so excited to be moving up to a new classroom at her daycare. It was bigger, there were more activities, and she got to practice big kid things, like sharing family-style meals with her friends and learning to use the potty. And there were nice, big windows on 2 sides of the classroom, so you could see the cars coming into the parking lot and know whose parents were coming to pick them up and going before anyone else at the school. One evening, on the drive home, she told me about a new game they had played. It was so fun. They turned off all the lights and had to hide from the cars. The whole class and the teachers huddled together away from the windows and away from the door. That's a funny game, I thought. Then I paused and I connected with the messages that had been sent home from the school and realized that my toddler was describing her first ever active shooter drill. Forgive me because I know that this is now common practice at schools and daycares, but I was in high school when the Columbine shooting happened. So, probably like most of you here, I did not grow up practicing the best way to stay out of sight, the quickest method to lock the classroom door, or the perfect timing to run to safety. But in the 8,462 days since that day in Colorado, we've seen Virginia Tech, Northern Illinois, and Sandy Hook, and Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, and Robb Elementary this year, and too many others to name. And we've heard prayers for the families, while the consistent message from the so-called leaders of the land of the free is that the freedom to own a gun is more important than the freedom of our children to go to school without fear. How can we tell our children that we're doing everything we can to keep them safe when the collective response to an epidemic of violence is a shrug, some platitudes, and a return to business as usual after a few news cycles? Where can we find the strength to fight and keep fighting for a better and more peaceful nation? For me, I find it in the courage of these very same children who are standing up and saying enough, in the teachers and staff who didn't sign up for this, but who put themselves in harm's way anyway to protect their students. And perhaps the most unlikely place, but right now I am finding strength in the US Senate, where for the first time in decades there's a chance to pass real, albeit woefully insufficient, legislation to curb access to guns. A baby step is still a step after all. And that is the lesson I take away in these difficult situations. There isn't an easy solution. Sometimes it feels hopeless. And it is impossible to truly protect our children from every possible danger. But we keep pushing forward, accomplishing as much good as we can in spite of the odds against us. And fight like hell to make the world a better place for those who come after us. I took time, now that my daughter is in elementary school, to tell her about the shooting in Uvalde, because I wanted her to hear about it from me and not secondhand from classmates or teachers. And I reminded her that her teachers and school rules do the best they can to keep her safe. And she said, "I know, Daddy. We blocked the door to keep the bad people out of the classroom." As much as I wish preparing to defend herself wasn't part of the school curriculum, that brave little girl reminds me that you can always do something to help. In spite of the overwhelming pressure that tells us to give up, we can't win, it doesn't matter what we do, there is a loud and unhinged opposition standing in our way, we must remember that the future is at stake. Children's lives are at stake, and any progress, no matter how small, is worth fighting for.
We hold each other in our hearts and minds with all our joys and sorrows. We remember those facing health challenges and those experiencing losses. We remember today a celebration of both Father's Day and Juneteenth as a day that can evoke for many of us both joys and sorrows. Even when the cares of the world weigh on us, may we find joy in our connections with each other and in the pleasures that life holds. Let us care for one another and for ourselves in all the ways that we can. As we hold each other in our hearts and minds with all our joys and all our sorrows, whether spoken or unspoken, let us take a moment to be quiet together. Our meditation words today are by Thich Nhat Hanh, a Zen Buddhist monk. Let us be at peace with our bodies and our minds. Let us return to ourselves and become wholly ourselves. Let us be aware of the source of being common to us all and to all living things. Evoking the presence of the great compassion, let us fill our hearts with our own compassion towards ourselves and towards all living beings. Let us pray that we ourselves cease to be the cause of suffering to each other. With humility, with awareness of the existence of life and of the sufferings that are going on around us, let us practice the establishment of peace in our hearts and on earth. Amen, and blessed be.
Good morning. I'm Russ, Carol Manthy's husband. She's not able to be here today, and she asked me to deliver this message. For those of you with children, do you think, or if you don't have children, do you think children in general should be able to make decisions at an early age? You might have started with little decisions like juice or milk this morning. What color shirt do you want to wear? You pick out a book for us to read. As children grow, you might up the ante a little bit, move on to bigger decisions like, what color should we paint your room? Do you want to have a birthday party? Whom should we invite to this party? Our story about kids making decisions starts when our children, Mark and Robin, were in elementary school. Back then, we had a tradition of going out to dinner as a family every Friday night. We enjoyed it. Now, in the beginning, when the kids were little, Russ and I chose the restaurant. When the kids started showing preference, and as you know, that starts pretty early, we said, well, you guys choose. This question was too hard for them to resolve as a team. Big brother Mark naturally thought he should have his way every time because he was the boss. Robin, 3 years younger, was starting to stand up to Mark at the time and had her own opinion. Sibling rivalry erupted in the back seat. Your places are stupid. Yeah, but you'll always get your own way. Russ and I needed to find a better way. Our new weekly ritual, born of this necessity, quickly became known as Choice Night. Here's how it worked. Mark and Robin already understood at that age that a game, to be both fair and fun, needs rules. Choice Night has rules. We rotated the restaurant decision among the 4 of us every week. We established the initial and forever order by flipping coins. First, one of the kids, then an adult, kid, adult, kid, adult. That order, which everyone agreed to, never changed. Each of us, most importantly, each child, would pick the restaurant they wanted for their week. The important thing was that it was their choice, and it gave them equal power, at least in this instance, in the family. The rest of us had to honor that person's decision with unconditional acceptance, even if they chose the same place over and over and over and over again. Choice Night replaced arguments, fussing, and unhappiness with fun and a little intrigue. Sometimes the kids would keep their choice a secret and would not reveal it until we were backing out of the driveway. Other times, they would announce their choice daily for the whole 3 weeks. Oh, sorry about that. The 4 of us still reminisce about those days, which ended when the kids discovered that going to a restaurant with Mom and Dad was not cool. For the record, Robin was initially a McDonald's and later a Pizza Hut fan. Mark often chose the sign of the beef carver, if any of you remember that from long ago, where he enjoyed roast beef carved fresh from a steamship round. The beef carver would ask him, "Kids' portion?" And he said, "Oh no, I want the adult portion." He felt very grown up. We launched Choice Night 40 years ago. Today, our local grandchildren, Robin's 3 kids, come to our house for dinner once a week. We adapted the old program. It is now What I Want Grandma to Cook Choice Night. Even without the restaurants, we all have fun, they anticipate their week, and we follow the rules. It is important for children to make decisions, and it's important for parents and grandparents to let them.
The programs and operations of the church are supported by voluntary contributions of our members and friends. Each month, we share our offerings with an organization nominated by the congregation and selected by the special offering team. This month's organization is NAMI DuPage, which was founded in 1985 as an affiliate of the National Alliance on Mental Illness, a nationwide mental health advocacy organization dedicated to improving the quality of lives of people affected by mental illness. NAMI DuPage has grown to an organization of over 1,000 members and has become one of the largest and most innovative of 1,200 affiliates nationwide. Please visit www.namidupage.org for more information about available programs. This morning's offering to support the work of DuPage Unitarian Universalist Church and of NAMI DuPage is given and received in a spirit of generosity and gratitude.
Our next reflections are written by Toni Morgan, who is unable to be with us this morning, but she's a member of our congregation, and she has sent us a recording.
I usually don't wake up nauseous, so I was concerned on the day of Kevin Walsh's St. Patrick's Day birthday extravaganza and parade when I did. My husband Alan and I were going to the north side of Chicago to celebrate Kevin's birthday, ride on a trolley on the north side parade and celebrate. So fun. But I tell my husband Alan, I feel sick. I feel like something's wrong with the kids. He answered by saying, the kids are asleep, Tony. They're in their rooms. So I check on them and they're fine. I could not help returning to that haunting sick feeling that all was not well. We got to the party about 10 in the morning and it was early, but I said yes to 2 mimosas, I think in part to allay my dread. Soon the whole group at the party heads down to where the trolley is and we board. I tell Alan again, I feel so worried about the kids. It's really bothering me. He says, will it help if we call home? So we do. Cal, who uses they, them pronouns, answers their cell phone. They say they're on their way to church to play in the percussion ensemble for Karen Campbell. All is well, Cal chirps, and I feel better. The trolley has not left, but it will soon. Not 15 minutes later, Cal calls again. They are in tears. I had an accident. I didn't see the car. The ambulance is coming. Meet me at Rush Copley. I think I'm okay, but the car is not. We let the people at the party know we have to leave. They show concern and wish us luck. I would have been hysterical if not for the mimosas. Alan is calm and helpful as usual, but concerned as we drive to Rush Copley. When we arrive, Alan drops me off and I see what no parent ever wants to see, which is a doctor on one side of Cal's bed and a police officer on the other. Cal is crying so hard that it's difficult for them to talk. First, the medical condition, whiplash and a little sore Cal, but okay. The other driver and passenger are okay. The medical person tells me just a little bit more waiting for the internal tests to come back. The police officer tells me that Cal is very lucky. 1 foot further into the intersection, and we would have been talking about a funeral. This information chills me. Cal takes me through what happened by saying that they looked left and right, but forgot to look left again. The car came up, hit the left side, her car spun around, it hit the right, and put the car into a ditch. 2 neighbors came out and climbed in the car and offered comfort and support to Cal until the ambulance arrived. Soon, the hospital staff tells us that Cal can be discharged. No sooner do we get home than Cal goes upstairs to me and says, "Mom, don't freak out. Come upstairs, but don't freak out." I run to the bathroom and there's blood in the sink and all over the counter. Cal's nose is bleeding a lot. I tried to call 911, but I messed it up, so I called my sister, who's a nurse, to check if that was the best choice. She said I should apply pressure and immediately return to the emergency room. I leave, and when I get to the hospital with Cal, my sister surprises me by meeting me there. By then, we have seen the intake people, and we're sitting in the lobby waiting for them to come call us back. I asked my sister what the worst case scenario is, and she says she could have a brain bleed. And I asked her what you have to do for that, and she said you'd have to poke a hole in Cal's head. I asked if she would do this for me, and she says yes. I cannot really name anyone else in the world who would do this for my child. Thankfully, we don't have to do it, and after a thorough check, they tell us it was really just a bad 20-minute nosebleed. When we return home, I am exhausted, and our son, Chris, volunteers to wake up every hour to check on his sister during the night, and he does. The important thing I learned from this crisis is that I cannot go it alone. When I feel desperate, I remember this. There is someone in the back seat. There is someone driving the ambulance. There is someone serving the mimosas, enforcing the law, volunteering to poke a hole in your child's head, etc., etc. When I forget this lesson, and we all do, I take stock again. No matter how much we may feel the pressure and the pain of parenting and feel alone, some help is there somewhere. Maybe in school, maybe in the neighborhood, most hopefully in church. And I remember those who helped me. Because of them and many more, I made it through a critical day of crisis as a mom.
There's a popular quote from Fred Rogers that circulates online anytime a crisis makes the news. In it, he says, "When I was a boy, I would see scary things in the news. My mother would say to me, 'Look for the helpers.' You will always find people who are helping." This sentiment has been profoundly comforting to me during times of tragedy. All you have to do is shift your perspective slightly and see that on the worst days, in the worst times, there is good to be found. However, the older I get, the more I come to realize that it is incumbent on each of us as adults to not only look for the helpers, but to be them. We may not run into burning buildings or save people from rushing floodwaters the way first responders do, but each of us has a contribution to make. May we have the strength to be the helpers the children of our community need. May we have the courage to stand for justice and the compassion to listen when a sympathetic ear is needed most. We may not be able to make everything right, but together we can help raise children who carry our UU principles into the world, and bit by bit, make it better. Now, please rise in body or spirit and join us for hymn number 124, "Be That Guide."
No, it's Be That Guy, number 124.
Oh, that's 320.
It's an adventure just like parenting.
Thank you. As we extinguish our chalice flame this morning, let us remember the words of Reverend Laurel S. Sheridan. Take from life its coals, not its ashes. Fan the flames of love and justice, join hands and hearts in common endeavor, and there will be no limit to what we can achieve together.
There is too much hardship in this world to not find joy every day. There is too much injustice in this world to not right the balance every day. There is too much pain in this world to not heal every day. Each of us ministers to a weary world. Let us go forth now and do that which calls us to make this world more loving, more compassionate, and more filled with the grace of divine presence every day.